Twice. Now, you asked for it. Sorta. Live and in person. It's Tom Schmitz.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks with Tom Schmitz. As the intro says, as luck would have it, I'm Tom Schmitz. Funny how that works. Funny how that works. I got in the studio with me now, I got Alex Dagg, who plays Bob Cratchit, and James Taylor. Yeah, that James Taylor. The famous James Taylor. Because he's an actor. He plays Fred, Scrooge's nephew in the show. Guys, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you.
Let's get your mics turned up. It's only live radio.
Only live.
Yeah. Only live. Don't you, before we get into what's going on with the musical, how many times has that happened to you on stage in where you know your mic's going live, you're fixing to start your soliloquy or your song, and the board guy was a little slower than he was supposed to be.
Yeah, it kept us on mute. It happens more than I think we want to admit.
Sometimes. This time we're lucky. We're really lucky this time. But
We're talking with these two gentlemen. They're in the Christmas Carol play, a musical. However you want to look at it. Some people say play, some people say musical.
Yeah, it is a play. It's a straight play. We do sing in it because
right, but it's
carols.
not a musical, right? But it's Carol.
Yeah.
It is the best Christmas stage event is Christmas Carol. The only other one I can think of is a Nutcracker, I guess.
You won't see us up there.
Right. That's,
that's not for that anyway.
I have just for title reasons, I don't want to be in it. That's
yeah, for sure.
Just because of what the ballet is called. I want none of that.
Exactly.
some little soldier guy with a bad jaw that could crack me. I don't want that.
No, I don't want to be anywhere near that. That's a good way to keep me 6 feet away from you, right there.
Social distance.
Exactly.
But A Christmas Carol starts. It's live on stage at the Ocala Civic Theater, but it's a little different take on A Christmas Carol than you're used to. Mm-hmm. James, tell us a little bit about what the difference is.
Okay, so normally we've got, in the Christmas Carol story, I mean, there are like 107, I think, different versions.
But everybody knows the premise. Scrooge hates Christmas, hates people. Ghosts come and visit him, scare the hell out of him. He all of a sudden loves life again.
Right, reformed.
And we all live happily ever after.
Exactly, yeah. So we've got one of those 107 versions. This one, like Alex was mentioning earlier, it's a much more, I guess, theatrical version of it, where we've got just 6 actors on stage that are jumping between characters and characters. We've got one boy who's reading the story in real time, who's set in our current day, and then the actors are playing characters from, the past, from the 1840s, whenever the play was written. So,
and then you got a fiddler that added to the mix as well.
Yeah, he adds a nice
timepieces.
Exactly. Yeah, so we play like period pieces, and it adds a great ambiance. So in a sense, it almost feels like a radio show when you have like maybe a couple of people that play different characters, and then maybe they do different voices. But when we're on stage, we have to be different physically, and I think that adds a little bit of like that magic and mysticism when it comes to Christmas Carol on of itself and theater. So we can mix those two things together, and then you have something that's a very impactful performance, not just something that we know, but something that may impact you in a new light.
To take on this endeavor with only 6 actors, though, that has to bring a uniqueness to it that is unrivaled.
Yeah. So our script is only roughly, I want to say, 40 pages long.
And this is an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes?
Yeah. Just to show you
That's
how much...
That's a short script.
Yeah, just to show you how much work is going into each of those pages, all the technical elements that we're throwing in, the amount of, dare I say, acting that we have to do is, we really stretch out those 40 pages. It doesn't feel like it, but it's a good way.
Improvisation is some of the best form of acting you can have, where you're just given, this is what it's supposed to, this is the generalization, now you go out as an actor and perform it.
Correct.
And that's what you're talking is going on here. You only got 40 pages for an hour and 40 minutes. Usually that's somewhere about 100, 120 pages, you would think.
Yeah, you would think. And like to go off of your point, like that's how this play kind of was created. It was written by Christopher Scario, obviously based off of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, obviously. But that's how their process was being more improvisational and finding ways to tell this story in a truncated form. And I think they did a beautiful job and were able to then to write that down. And our challenge was to figure out what the magic they found in their improvisational rehearsals and make that work for us, and then to show Ocala and everyone that wants to come.
I know you may find this a little strange.
Yeah.
But I have at one time in my life or another did a lot of comedy.
No.
I know, it's hard to believe. Okay, people out there, just shut up. I don't even want to hear you. But I've done a lot of comedy, and a lot of comedy, even though you got bits that you write and, it's written down, you'll go do a 30-minute set or 40-minute set of comedy, and you'll have 30 or 40 minutes worth of material. But depending on the reaction of how the feel you're getting from the crowd, how jokes are going over and everything, you may just go off script and and do a lot of improvisation with the crowd and everything. And what was 40 minutes of material really ended up, you only used 10 minutes of material, but you stretched it.
Right.
40 minutes. And that's what you guys, not the comedy aspect of it, although I'm sure there's a little comedy infused.
Yes.
But you have a set script, but there's a lot of working room in the script, is what you're telling me.
Well, I wouldn't say that. It was just the way how they formed it. They used the improv background.
Right.
But they really took a lot of what was written in Christmas Carol. So a lot of our lines.
The traditional stuff is still there.
Yeah, and on top of our characters that James and I play, there are narrators that we also play. And the narrators are kind of like the voice of the child, or the voice in your head that's reading the story. And then we physically are playing that. So we're kind of almost your imagination or spirits in of itself of the play.
We're talking with Alex Dagg and James Taylor, two of the 6 actors that are going to be on stage at the Ocala Civic Theater for A Christmas Carol. We'd be remiss if we didn't tell you that Lizzie Allen, Ashlyn Gibbs, Robert Skipper are also going to be part, and James Houston?
Houston.
James Houston, who's going to play the fiddler. So we'd be remiss if we didn't tell you that they were all involved with the play as well.
And Alex Pinkston as Scrooge.
Right, playing. Is Alex only playing Scrooge?
Only Scrooge.
So he's only playing
He's
Scrooge.
Yeah.
Y'all playing everybody else.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And there's a lot in A Christmas Carol.
Correct.
Yes.
We'll go with you first, Alex. When you knew that they were going to do A Christmas Carol and you read the script and everything, was this one of those things where you said, I have to be a part of this?
Oh, for sure.
It's the classic with a different twist, but it's still A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
God bless us, everyone. I still got to do it.
Yeah, you have to. And even when you said that just then gave me chills. Like, it's one of my favorite stories. I think most of us at some point in our lives have seen some sort of version of it, whether it's...
Well, there's 117, you said. We've seen one of them.
Yeah, we've seen at least one or not all.
Bill Murray did a great job.
Yeah, Scrooge was fantastic. But yeah, when I knew this was coming up, one of my favorite characters just in general is Jacob Marley. And so for me, I just wanted to be Jacob Marley again. And I get to play Jacob Marley. So that's one of the 5 characters that I dip my toes into. And yeah, it just was one of those, it's a classic. And it just sparked like, I have to do this. I have to.
Same with you, James?
Well, for me personally, it's not so much that I had to do this exact story. It was the excitement of being able to play so many different characters at one time. Because normally whenever I've done shows at OCT, I go up there, I am a character, and that's it. This time, like we said, I think I play four different characters with 4 separate voices, 4 different costumes, and but they're all me, obviously, the whole time. And that's what I really wanted to do, was just be able to jump back and forth in between all these things.
Before I ask this next question, I have to say, we talked about Bill Murray and Scrooge. Carol Kane stole that movie. Okay? when she hits him with the toaster.
Yeah. Anytime you can do any sort of physical comedy.
Right, she stole the show.
Yeah.
When you talk about you're doing 4 separate things with costume changes and everything, you're playing at least Bob Cratchit and Jacob Marley. You might play others, I don't know.
Yeah.
How spot on do you have to be hitting your marks and everything, because you're in and out of costumes and on and off stage so fast?
I think we have to be pretty spot on. Not only do we have only 40 pages, those 40 pages contain roughly 300 different sound and light cues that are going directly off of where we're standing, the exact wording that we say. So we have to be pretty close. I mean, we rehearse dress changes, we rehearse all these things, you know, specifically so that everything can go on point every time.
That people don't understand until you do it, until you've been on stage and you've done acting and all, where there's multiple scene changes, because not only are you acting, a lot of times the actors that aren't in the scenes are the actors that are moving stuff on and off stage. You're putting sets on and off stage, everything, plus you got to change in and out of outfits. A lot of people don't understand the technical precision that has to go on when you're in the dark lights. Even when there's acting going on in the bright lights, you're still having to hit marks. It's really controlled chaos, is it not?
Oh, for sure, it's totally controlled, and especially, like, to hit your point, me and James, I think, move a lot of set pieces. So do Ashlyn and Liz, and I think maybe Robert may touch a couple. But every actor has their hand in this, not just in acting, but within the moving of the set.
Your stagehand, and actor.
And that's what makes it beautiful, because what makes this different and unique from other maybe productions you may have seen is that you're seeing us do it. Right, you're gonna see maybe a costume piece on stage before it gets used, and then you see us transition into that character. So you get to see maybe that prep or that magic that an actor has to call upon when he's backstage to transform into a character. Well, now you get to see that on stage. You get to see us transform. You get to see us be tactile with what we're doing, and I think that makes it very raw and real for the audience members, because I think they can empathize with that.
I don't know all the characters you're playing, James, but I know he's playing Cratchit and Marley. Two opposite ends of the spectrum on how they deal with Ebenezer.
Yeah, for sure.
One deals with Ebenezer like, look here, jackass. I'm Jacob Marley. I'm your former boss. I know what kind of a jackass you are. You can't fool me. And then another guy that's, yes, Mr. Scrooge, whatever I need to do, Mr. Scrooge. Anything I can do for you, Mr. Scrooge. Oh, whatever. I can't lose this job. And to go from the tough as nails Jacob Marley to the subservient, passive Bob Cratchit, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, it is tough, and what's crazy about it is within the play, for me at least as Bob Cratchit, I'll start out as Bob Cratchit, I move to Marley, then I have to be Fezziwig, then I come back and be...
Dear goodness, and Fezziwig.
Yeah, Fezziwig, and then I'm like Old Joe, and then I go back to being Cratchit, and then I have like 2 or 3 other bit characters that don't even get costume pieces. So I don't even get the help of having a costume piece.
And you're narrating too.
And I'm narrating, yeah. And it's the same for James, same for Ashlyn, same for Lizzie. And it's a huge group effort because we have to make you believe that we may be playing all these different characters, but these different characters are different actors at the same time.
I'm trying to get the dates here. I'm looking for it.
Yeah, November 19th through December 20th.
It should be on here somewhere, I would think. But
yeah, I believe so.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Live on stage, November 19th through December 20th. It's the first sentence.
Whenever you need something, it's never there.
It was right. It was the first line. Yeah, told you, folks. I played college football. Shots to the head.
Oh, what position?
I was a wedge buster.
Oh, there you go. You look like a wedge buster.
Yeah, that was my job. Talk about what it's like, though, as actors, to have the advantage of as top-notch a facility and people as the Ocala Civic Theater.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely fantastic. Working with not one but 2 wonderful directors for this show. We've got Katrina Plouffe and Trudy Bruner, both co-directing this show. Has just been absolutely fantastic. This year, of course, we've got the difficulties of having to rehearse in a smaller rehearsal hall, so in that time...
And social distance at the same time.
Exactly, yeah. So during rehearsals, we have to have our masks on. We have to
Can't Zoom
respect.
call. You can't Zoom call rehearsals.
We have.
We have though, yeah.
Well, I would think
we
you could
have.
do script reading, but really,
For dialect
Right,
work.
yeah.
Yeah.
For our accents, things like that. And that, I mean, that put a little bit of a strain on certain things because what we're used to, close acting, being near each other, touching other actors, is just something that's impossible now. But now that we're on the stage and we've got the 6 different air handlers blowing air everywhere but next to you, we're a lot safer, and we're just absolutely blessed to be able to be in the 12% of theaters open in the United States.
They
right
do
now.
a wonderful job, especially within the audience. So if you're coming to see the show, you're going to be safe. It's socially distanced. They set up these cutout cardboard, for their patrons.
To fill, right.
Yeah, to fill. But you are going to be socially distanced. You will be safe. You do have to wear a mask, but the actors are safe on stage. They put it a lot onto us, even though we're just volunteers. That's part of it. We ask you to do this. Can you do this? And that's a challenge we accept. And we want to be able to make sure that the facility's safe. And, OCT does a beautiful job of that. And we want to be able to, as you were saying earlier, have some sort of normalcy. And it looks like the Christmas time might be
bringing us back to normal.
right. And hopefully we can, do that within Christmas Carol. We bring Scrooge back to normal. We can bring Ocala back to normal.
And a lot of people don't realize just how prevalent and strong theater is in our area, because you got the up in Gainesville,
The
you
Hippodrome.
have the Hippodrome
Yeah.
with their black box theater and
Yep.
everything. You have the Ocala Civic Theater, which is one of the best small community civic theaters in the entire country.
Right. If not the best.
It may be the best. I mean,
I may be biased.
but it may be the best. And I mean, I've been to the Phillips Performing Arts Center in Gainesville. I've been to the Phillips Performing Arts Center in Orlando. I've been to the Fox Theater and watched musicals and plays in Atlanta. I've been, lo and behold, to some of those huge Broadway theaters, that sit 304 people. People think these Broadway theaters are massive. They're little bitty things.
Yeah, exactly.
They're little bitty things.
Yeah.
But I've been to Broadway and everything. And every technical aspect and every theatrical aspect that you could see in all of those places I just named, I've been to theater in Chicago, all that you see, the same capabilities are done right there on stage at the Ocala Civic
Correct.
Theater. Mm-hmm. I think with the Appleton and the Ocala Civic Theater, that may be 2 of our best jewels that a lot of people, I don't know if they don't know about, but they take for granted.
Right.
That it's
so
how good
ingrained.
it is in your backyard.
Yeah, it's so ingrained in this area. I believe it's 70 years now that OCT or the Marion Players and then into
And then
OCT.
OCT, right.
I mean, that in of itself, I think a lot of people do appreciate it, but they forget.
1950, 49 or 50 was the first year. I think it's right around there.
Yeah, way before me, but
It's just amazing the shows, the magnitude of shows that you take on as well. Because, by the way, taking on this show, A Christmas Carol, it's not like it's a show like Pump Boys and Dinettes just finished.
right.
Unless you know theater and you know musicals, Pump Boys and Dinettes may be something you've heard of, but you don't have a premise of what's going on till you get there and actually see Pump Boys and Dinettes.
Right.
Because Les Miserables was so popular with the movie and all, the premise of it now. But when it happened to the Ocala Civic Theater, which to me is still one of the best musicals I've ever seen in my life,
Nice.
and it was done by volunteers at a civic theater.
Yeah.
But the fact that those 2 things on top of, people didn't know about them. So you don't go in with any preconceived notion. People know this story.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't go in and pull the wool over somebody's eyes with this story.
Right.
We know Bob Cratchit. We know Ebenezer Scrooge. We know Jacob Marley. We know the Ghost of Christmas Past, Ghost of Christmas Present. We know Tiny Tim.
Yep.
We know all of these characters. This is not something you can take lightly and just think the average person doesn't know the story.
Correct. And I think that's part of the uniqueness of the version that we're doing. Because this version almost treats it as if this is the first time Christmas Carol was actually ever heard. Mm-hmm. And, and I think James and I think we can agree, we tried to make it as if it's the first time anyone's ever heard
The
this.
118th adaptation.
Correct. The 118 is now number one to us, right?
How many shows and how long have you been with, have you done acting with OCT, James?
With OCT, I started back in 2018, so really just the past 2 years whenever I moved back to Ocala. And I've done maybe 6 or 7 shows there. I was lucky enough to be in quite a number of them in 2018 and 19. And before that, I mean, I've only really been doing theater for roughly the past 5 years, ever since college. Halfway through, I decided to audition for some student-directed shows. The director said, "Hey, you're pretty decent at this. Why don't you try out for a main stage?" I got cast in Macbeth, changed my major, and never looked back.
Never looked back.
Yeah, no.
You know, that's almost a story that if you want some hope in your life, there's my buddy Walter Scoggins. You know him as the Unicorn on CBS.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
He went to Georgia Southern with me. We know each other from when we were 18, 19, and he just said on a goof he was going to go to an open casting call for some, I think it was Pirates of Penzance they were doing at the school, and he got a part. And he got bit by the acting bug.
Yeah.
And then he got an agent. He started doing some In the Heat of the Night. As
Yeah, that's a great series.
Thug drug dealer from the Deep South and everything.
Right.
Know, and the police shows. And then he was downtown Danny Brown in Major League 3. And
Oh,
now
wow.
he's
Really? Oh, that's
now he's
so
the
cool.
Unicorn on CBS.
yeah.
And he did it because he got the acting bug.
Yeah, I think everyone wants to do it. It's one of those, once you do it once, there's something about it that just encapsulates you. Because I think every day, we as people, we go out, we say hi to so many different people. Well, and every time you say hi, you say it differently.
100%. You're acting every time you say hello.
Exactly. And as soon as you figure that out, and then you can go on stage and do that, and people applaud for you, done.
See, the problem with it is, and why I went into comedy instead of acting and stuff like that, because I was in high school, I did musicals and everything. The reason I went to comedy instead of acting is I'm pretty much the same character regardless.
Yeah, no matter what. Well, so is Robert De Niro, and he makes millions of dollars.
De Niro, I don't care. Yeah, when he was in Meet the Parents, he was an FBI agent, but you really thought he was a mob hitman.
Yeah, Mal Pittman.
Yeah.
Yeah, same face.
I got nipples, Greg. Can you milk,
Milk
me?
me? Yeah. Best line
It's one of
in
the
movie
greatest
history.
movies ever. One of the movies. So, how long have you worked with OCT?
I've been off and on for about 10 years, but if you look at it collectively, maybe like 3. I kind of do like a season, and then I peace out and do my life somewhere else in America, and then I come back. I'm kind of a nomad. And because of COVID, this past time, I came back to Ocala and saw Christmas Carol, so I auditioned. So I've done about, I think, 5 or 6 shows. This might be my 6th show with OCT, but over a span of 10 years.
So, is Civic Theater really? Do you have aspirations, James, of going farther? Is Civic Theater where you want to be?
Oh,
or?
sure, yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, I have aspirations. Am I realistic about it? Yes, also. But I mean, everybody's got dreams, and do I think I can make it? Sure, if I'm in the right place at the right time. But really, it's just I think I can have a job that pays the bills and a passion that is just volunteer work, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
We got about a minute to go in this interview, which is flew by. The 30 minutes.
Yeah,
flew
for
by.
sure.
If people want to get involved with this or they want to find out information, where should they go to look for tickets? Because it's going to be a struggle. It won't be. Everybody will still get in to see it, but because of social distancing and all, it's not going to be full houses. So tell us where they can find that information out.
Right. So you can call the Ocala Civic Theater 352-236-2274. Show up at the box office anytime during the week, and you can buy tickets then, or go on to OcalaCivicTheater.com. That's theater, Theatre, not ER. And you can get tickets there too.
Well, fellas, thanks for coming in. I'm looking forward to seeing this show. I'm going to come see the show.
Awesome. Can't wait to have you.
Looking forward to it. Alex Dagg, who plays Bob Cratchit, and James Taylor, who plays Fred, Scrooge's nephew, among others they play. They're joining us as A Christmas Carol's on stage. Coming up next, we got some COVID news. Imagine that, COVID news. It looks like the immunity could last longer than first thought, according to a new study. I'll tell you about that. Plus, get Joe in here and do some trivia questions, see how well he knows about Florida and the Seminole Indians. We'll do that next. 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.